Okay, hey, this is Mark. This is probably one of the final chapters on setting up a Prusa Mark III printer. Um, uh, in my last video, I had to kind of cut it short because during the calibration process, the LCD screen wigged out and it was just scrambled characters on there, and I don't know what caused it because it hasn't done it again. Um, but I kind of pushed and prodded wires. Maybe there's a loose wire, or it's possible the ribbon cable got damaged, um, or it's just a bad LCD. But I power cycled the printer. It all came back, and I reran the whole calibration process, which takes a good 15 minutes. Um, did all that, got through that process. So now I'm going to continue what I was going to finish last night. Is we're going to do the next step, which is in this case we have a calibrated printer. We're going to do the first layer calibration test print, and then after that I'll kick off a logo, and then but I won't make you wait 30 minutes to watch a logo print because I already made one. Where's the camera? So I did successfully print this last night. It came out really nice. But we'll kick that off, and I'll have two logos, I guess. So let's get started here. So I have a calibrated printer. That process was pretty much near the end when the display glitched out. So we'll just pick up from there. I'm going to turn my printer on. So now that it's calibrated, the display down here goes right to the info page of your temperature and all that other stuff. When you're not calibrated yet, and it knows you're not calibrated, it'll come up and ask you. It'll say, "Hey, you're not calibrated. Do you want to run the wizard? Do you want to do this step?" And I think you can choose to ignore all that, but it knows that you successfully ran the calibration or not. Once you've done it and kind of said that, yeah, this all looks good. So now my printer turns on and acts like a normal printer, and I get this first page. So we're going to do a calibration, single layer calibration, and what it is it prints, the print object is like a single layer of filament, and it lets you micro adjust the print head height. And so apparently on mine it was off by, even though it did this extensive calibration thing, it was still, the print head was too high by 0.5 millimeter, and I had to adjust the calibration to get the print head all the way down to where my filament was sticking, and then the little there's like a square patch it prints that the texture of it on the bottom looks really filled in and not squished too much, and not just falling off the thing. So let's do that print here. So I think I can. I don't know if adjusting the light here is worth. No. Yeah, sorry for the lack of contrast on the lighting here. Fighting an LCD and its lighting requirements. Yeah, that's a little. I guess that's as close as it's going to get, right? I'm going to press the button. I have my info screen, and I'm going to go down to, I think below settings, calibration. It says wizard, which is the thing we were running last night and we wigged out on, and we successfully completed the wizard last night. It was nearly done when I cut the stream off, so it would have, we were maybe 2 more minutes, and we would have been done anyway. So the next thing that the wizard wanted us to do was do the first layer calibration. So let's go to that on the menu and do it. It asks you, is the PLA filament loaded? Yes, it is. I think that was another thing after the calibration. We had to load filament, so it is. So I have my silver filament that it came with. You can see up here on the filament mounting right there. So yes, I have filament. So let's do that. Okay, so it's going to warm up the printer. and get the temperature. I guess its target temperature is 215 Celsius for the print head, and the heated bed is going to go to 60 degrees Celsius. So let's let that, and it heats pretty quick. I would say compared to my replicator one, it's, it's 20-30% faster. So that's kind of nice. So, and the bed, and it's heating the bed at the same time. I think the replicator one, it did one and then the other. It's kind of a pain. So oh, hi Maker Block. Sorry I didn't see your message about chatting before the video starts. Here we are. So it's getting there. 171, 175. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice fast heating element on this thing. Okay. Yeah, that's a... All right, we're almost there. It's heating the bed. We're almost heated. The LCD display, like, it has a really weird refresh on it, and so I don't know if that's normal or just, or what. It just, I don't know. That might just be that kind of LCD display. I don't really like it that much. I'm sure there'll be an improved display at some point. All right, the bed's almost there. It's about 3 degrees to go. Come on, you can do it. All right, it's doing its thing. It's finding its corner points, I guess. Yep. So this is checking the bed level. I don't know if this part of the step is actually touching the metal and then having something happen, or it's, yeah, I don't know what that is. So. All right, so it's printing a line of filament, you can see right here, and now it's going to print some lines. But if you notice on the display, if you can see that, it says adjusting Z, and then it has a number below that. On mine, it says minus 0.527 millimeters. That's the calibration. So it starts at 0 on your first time ever, and then if the filament's not sticking to the bed, and on this one it looks like it. No, I mean, it's whatever it is. It wasn't sticking to the bed before. The corners were rounded, and so I ran this thing a little bit. I went through like 3-4 test prints, and I lowered it each time until the head was like exactly printing those test lines perfectly, and then the little it's going to print a little square at the end of this. So it took me about 3-4 tries before I realized, it's like I was going like 0.01 millimeter. It wasn't enough. I had to go to like half a whole millimeter. This will let you go 1 entire millimeter. If it gets to that limit, it says to go redo the wizard calibration again because something somewhere did not sense the right head gap to whatever, or it says to adjust your sensor, the PINDA sensor. It says to move it up or down, I guess, depending on where you think it needs to go, and then run your calibration again. So half a millimeter, I can live with that. I may go tweak that again so I can get my Z close to 0. I don't think it's necessary, but maybe someday I'll just, when I'm bored, I'll tweak it. So it just printed the test pattern, and so you can see these zigzag lines. And so what we're looking for here is that the line is sticking to the bed, that it looks slightly squished. In the printing handbook here, in this 3D printing handbook, they give you a diagram and they show you it's like it shouldn't be a round piece of, like toothpaste thing sitting on top of the bed, and it shouldn't be smeared on the bed either. It should, somewhere in between is this kind of almost roundy, rectangularly filament, and you're kind of looking closely at this and trying to make sure that it's what you know what they expect for that. So uh, it does come off pretty easily. So let's get it started. It sticks. It's good. So I just peel this off, and then the thing I'm looking at here is this test print. Um, so I'm looking at the top to make sure all the little filaments that it printed in rows are all touching each other, and so it doesn't look like somebody just kind of laid fishing line down or something. Like they are, like it doesn't look like separate filaments barely touching. They're kind of merged. They're not overly merged. And then the other test is to look at the bottom. We're going to peel this off, and then we're going to look at the bottom of this. And so in this case, I don't know if I can see in the camera here. Come on, can you do it? Can you autofocus, Logitech? Do you have it in you? There it goes. Logitech's autofocus sucks. Okay, come on. There we go. So you can kind of see that the bottom isn't entirely smooth, but it's like almost merged completely smooth. On their textured print bed, it actually looks a lot better. And the other thing to compare that to is their parts that it came with is their texture, like the face of the LCD. It was obviously in their printed thing, but you don't really see the filament lines on a smooth thing like glass or this material. You are going to see this, especially with the silver filament. But the overall sheen of it has very little, I don't know if you can, I don't know where the microphone is, but there's I'm gonna rub my fingernail on it. There's very little groove on it. But as far as stuff I've printed on the replicator, I would call this good enough, because I've spent hours calibrating my replicator up and down between prints, and I'd call this like pretty much dead on. Maybe it can be a little better, but that's good. So I have a calibrated Prusa sitting here, and I'm really happy with that. And the other thing you noticed is, did you hear it when it was printing? No, you didn't, because it's virtually silent compared to the replicator. It's a very quiet printer. And I'm guessing it's their algorithms for the steppers. I think it's a software thing. It could be the chips as well. Maybe they just have improved chips or whatever. But the way they're making the steppers move is a very quiet thing. And I've seen, I think inkjet printers, like HP inkjet printers, when the print head moves, because they use steppers and things. And I think, I suspect they're doing something like what they're doing there is, they're just ways to run a motor where it doesn't make a lot of noise. If you know how the motor behaves. So that's my guess. I'm going to stick to that. That is that. Let's start a Prusa. I'll go through the menu here, and we'll print something, like something real. So this finished. It goes back to the main menu. I am going to go to print from SD. And they include on their SD card a bunch of stuff you can try out. I haven't done anything else other than the logo, but there's a dual color. I didn't know it could do that. I guess you switch filament or something. I'll have to read up on that, but I'm not gonna do that one. The next one is called PLA Buddy. Maybe that's the thing that holds the PLA up here. It came with this thing that grips on right here, this plastic piece. That was in the kit. There wasn't really any instructions for it. Maybe that's the PLA Buddy. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I'll just print it one of these days. I'll find out. Oh, here's an important thing: a beer opener. And it says color print. I don't know how. Again, I need to read up on color, but it is a beer opener, which I might find actually handy. Batman. There's no copyright violations here. but maybe it's a Batman logo or something. That's pretty cool. Um, let's see. Ada Linda, what? I don't like the way this display literally flashes as it scrolls, so that you can't read it. So I'm guessing like my display has something wrong with it. I'll find out. But it's a let's flick this again here. It's just called Ada Linda. I don't know who Ada Linda is. I'm sure she's a nice person. It says PLA 3D Hubs Marvin. Okay, whatever that is. So, what's the next one here? 3D Benchy. That's another. That sounds intriguing. Maybe I'll just print these at random until I see what, you know. So, is that a mat on the print bed? Wait, a mat? Maybe I should just. Oh, you know what? I didn't even talk about that. So, the print bed. This is the removable steel. This is the print sheet that it came with. The kit was supposed to come with their powder-coated, textured, with a texture on either side thing, but this is a steel sheet with a laminated plastic on it, and it's what they used to use. And if I waited longer, I would have got the kit with the new material. I guess they had problems in manufacturing the new sheet, so I'm probably gonna buy like 2 or 3 of those at some point. But this is the sheet. It basically says, original Prusa. You know, it's got their logo or whatever. But that's the standard print sheet. And the thing is, there are magnets underneath this heated print bed, and this steel sheet sticks to the magnets. So that's how everything stays in place. The nice thing is when it's finished, you can pull this sheet off, let it cool. If it's a low part, you're gonna want to let it cool. Let it cool down before you separate the part. But if you have 2 or 3 of these sheets, you can shove a clean sheet in, get your printer started up again, and walk away from it. So if you're trying to make a lot of parts rapidly, you might have 2 or 3 sheets. If you don't, on the logo piece, I set this down for about 3 minutes. Let the sheet cool down. Let the plastic cool down. Because the way you separate the piece off is you bend it. You bend the sheet. It's spring steel, so it's not going to stay bent. But you bend that, and your plastic piece pops right off. Just make sure your plastic piece isn't warm, because the sheet is warm after a print, because you'll warp your plastic piece. Because I've done that to stuff before. So just make sure your sheet's cool before you pop your plastic off. If it's a thin part, if it's a tall, big bulky part, you probably won't warp the part. But when it goes on, you observe the magnets are going to pull this right down onto the sheet, and then it gets difficult to position. So you just have to kind of be ready for it. A little bit of a technique. But the first thing to note is these little notches line up with a screws. This screw here is poking up a little bit. So that's the thing. You want to line those notches up. And you'll get alignment. If it's out of alignment, it's not going to affect anything because you're printing in the middle of the print bed. So, but it doesn't hurt to like have at least a decent alignment on this, especially if you have a large part, right? So this thing is so the magnets are already attracting on the back, and if I just drop this down, it's stuck. It's gripped. So that's kind of a really nice improvement. So a flat print surface that's also, just pop it out and get the stuff off of it. Easy to clean. You just clean it with alcohol. But if it got really gunky, I could rinse this off in the sink or something. As long as I don't let it stay wet, it won't rust. I don't know if it's stainless steel or not, but there you go, print sheets, and they should be pretty cheap to replace. I'm going to guess in the $10 range, maybe $20 range, if that. But maybe I'll buy a 3 or 4 pack at some point. So I love this print bed. It's a really beautiful thing. So let's print We were in the menu when I was in it. So let's go back. I guess it timed out. So what do we got here? Vase, whistle, benchy, triceratops. That's pretty cool. Tree frog. Get 2 tree frogs in here, and then a Prusa logo. Let's print the Prusa logo because I'm boring. Toes? Sarah says print toes, but there's no toes on here yet. And I'll have to get a file from Sarah to print what she says are toes. I don't know what that means. So, I do know what that means. You don't know what that means. Go watch Gravity Road on YouTube, and you'll learn what toes are. All right, here we go. I'm going to do it. Oh, it timed out again. I suck at this. All right, let's scroll down. Gear. Oh, there's more stuff. Gear, Castle, Prusa logo. Okay. Nefertiti. That's kind of cool. Let's do our Prusa. All right, so it's warming up, and it's going to start. I'm not going to finish it because, like, live, because it's a 30-minute print for such a small item. It is a nice print, and so what you're going what this will be at the end of this is the Prusa logo. Yeah, that took like 30 minutes to print. It's a very fine. I guess it's a very fine mode. I think 200 micrometer, whatever. I'm not micrometer. Why I don't. What is that? 0.2 inches, something like that. Or 0.02. So, but that is the Prusa logo. It came out really nice, and it was fun to watch it print it. So, I might just like replace it up here. Maybe I'll stick it up on the over the old logo or something. Maybe they need to do that. So we'll find out. So that's what that is. That's the Prusa, and then here I'll let this print about a minute, and then I'm gonna end the stream, and then I'm gonna start researching. Maybe tomorrow sometime I will live cast the software. So I'll take something from my CAD and I'll get it all the way into their slicer program and then put it on the SD card. So that'll be a thing tomorrow that we'll get through that process. And then at that point, that printer will get moved to where I keep the 3D printers in the back room in the house because they're stinky and I don't want to sit in the same room that I work in with some of the vapors that come off here are kind of not pleasant, melted plastic. So I put it in a room in the back of the house that has better ventilation and whatnot. They're just not in the same room. So it's doing its little calibration. It checks 9 points, the corners in the center every time, which is really nice. So it doesn't assume anything. Then it prints out a pre-extrusion. There's a little fat piece of filament. And then there we go. So overall, this printer is definitely an improvement over my Replicator 1. It's virtually quiet. I can hear it sitting a foot away, but I think about 4 feet away. I don't think I'd really hear the motor. So that's a nice feature that if I'm printing in the middle of the night, it doesn't keep waking me up with its weird print things. The price of $750 is like, for what this quality is just like totally value for me. So I'm really happy with that. And I'm already like figuring out my budget, see if I can fit a second Prusa printer in here this year. I want to get a second kit. And then one of the things I've wanted to do forever is and I wanted to do this with a Delta robot, and I may still do it, but I want to build something that's a frame like this that's a sorting machine. And the idea is that I can dump a bunch of, like screws or nuts or bolts or Legos, and instead of a 3D print head and a heating system, it's a camera and a gripper, and it can go look at the pieces you spilled out, and based on some level of training that you did for open camera vision or something, it would know. Like if it's Legos, I'm going to train it for the Legos that I want it to sort. But it will see those Legos and it will put them into the piles of colors and shapes that I want. But I could put like maybe coins. My dad has old coffee cans with random nuts and screws in them in his garage, and so my option there is at some point, if I inherit that garage, is to dump all the screws out in the garbage or salvage them. And the nice way to salvage stuff like that, and I even have that buckets of like random screws and nuts and bolts, is be able to like put them on a thing, have a camera vision, sort them for me and catalog them, and then I can like put them in little baggies and label them so that now when I need a 440 or an M3 or whatever, it's already sorted. So I think that would be a cool alternate thing to do with this. The fact that it's an open source platform tells me that I can go look at the microcontroller code and other things that whatever changes I need to do to make it not a printer, I can get in there pretty easy. So that's another win for the Prusa. Some printers make it, like I think MakerBot went not open source when they went to their MakerBot 2, and that was kind of like, that was crappy, right? So like nobody could do other things with the printers anymore. So so pretty cool stuff. So so that's pretty much it for for chapter 9, the final calibration post-assembly process, and then. So tomorrow I'll get on and I'll talk about a little bit about the stuff in the 3D printing handbook. Mainly, I'll get the software installed and I'll talk about that process, and then we'll get. I'll probably go into Fusion 360 CAD, and I'll take one of the objects I have or I want to print, and I'll just walk through live getting that into the process and what my take on that is, and hopefully it just works. So. Lynn Lee wants to know, is this mature content to Noodle? Something being made in front of, yeah, Noodle's like, Noodle doesn't want to know how the pieces are made. So, wow. So, yeah. So, exactly. He's watching his parents make parts. All right. So, I'm going to end it there. I'm going to let this thing finish, and then I'll be back online sometime tomorrow when I gather myself, and we'll do the final getting the computer to make it do things step. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.